Let's talk about Credence and the coldness that created the Obscurus living inside him. Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin, and this is my theological analysis for Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. I cannot wait to dive into this movie and dive into the stuff that last time I was watching this movie through that just really stood out to me. But while I do that, are you excited for Fantastic Beasts and the Crimes of Grindelwald? Let's talk about that in the comments.
Young wizards and witches sometimes try to suppress their magic to avoid persecution. So instead of learning to harness or to control their powers, they developed what was called an Obscurus.
It is really one of the darker elements and one of the most depressing elements that J.K. Rowling has introduced into this series, because what it is a child that is hurt and persecuted for being magical. So they have to suppress the magic that they know is there. They have to suppress the power they know they're connected to. And in suppressing that and pushing it back, it begins to take on a life of its own, and it becomes this parasite, this incredibly powerful parasite, normally killing these kids by the time they're 10, 11, or 12, which should show us the true giftings that are in Credence.
You can control it. Credence.
That he's in his late teens and he's still alive. It shows the true giftings and the true power that Credence is connected to. But you have Mary Lou.
Mom, I am not your mom. Your mother was a wicked, unnatural woman.
And she's the leader of this whole Second Salem group, which is this group that has an empty religion. When I say empty religion, I mean it is a religion that is empty of love, that is empty of God, and it is fear-based, and it is punishment-based. And so this empty religion is causing fear in Credence and punishing him for connecting to the power that he is able to connect to naturally, so forcing him in fear to suppress that and to hold that back. And you can bet with every beating, there's more fear. You can bet with every beating, there's more anger and there's more resentment. And as that stuff begins to build up inside of him and he suppresses it and he holds it down, it becomes a parasite and it takes on a life of its own. When you go and you look at Jesus's day, he was kind and compassionate and merciful to the worst of the worst. But when it came to the religious leaders, oh, he had some words for them. I mean, he would call them hypocrites. He would call them whitewashed tombs, trying to be all clean and artistic and beautiful on the outside, like a beautiful tomb, but inside a dead, rotting corpse. I think at this point, we're all familiar with Jesus being in the temple, and he's making a whip of cords and churning over the money changers and chasing some of those people out of there with a whip. He had some words when it came to religion, because when religion is empty, when it's pushed God and love out of it altogether, it becomes a man-made structure full of man-made rules and regulations that do more damage than good. I mean, when God came to Moses and gave Moses the law, here's how God revealed himself to Moses. He said, Yahweh, the Lord, the God of compassion and mercy, I am slow to anger and filled with unfailing love and faithfulness. And when we push that unfailing love and faithfulness out of religion and out of all that stuff, it becomes this man-made structure. And the Pharisees of Jesus's day, they were concerned with their status. So they didn't mind adding rule upon rule, which would add burden upon burden and disconnect people from God, the very life they should be connecting to. And Jesus was not happy with what they were doing, and he let them know it. So when you dive into Fantastic Beasts, I feel like that's a picture of what we see going on here. Mary Lou, leading the Second Salem group, has religion but doesn't have God, has religion but doesn't have love, and so therefore she's missed the whole point of it entirely and is doing all this stuff based on punishment and fear, causing Credence to hold back this power source that he's connected to, and it's being filled and mixed with all this anger and bitterness, and it's growing inside.
I know that you've suffered.
And it's pushed him into the arms of Graves. Graves, who's come as this kind and understanding guy, healing Credence's bruises and wounds and promising to teach him magic and how to use and harness his power like the other wizards and witches that are living in this world. And so he comes as this angel of light with all these promises, but really underneath, he's Grindelwald. Really, all he cares about is the Obscurus and not Credence himself. And when he thinks it's Credence's little sister that has the Obscurus, he's going to cast aside Credence. He even says, you're a squib and you're hopeless and I can't teach you anything. And that's just what the devil does. An empty religion can give us a bad view of God, and it can hurt us and push us right into the arms of the devil, because he comes as this angel of light, and suddenly we see again that we're being manipulated. That no matter where we go, it's manipulation after manipulation, being used after being used. Who actually cares about me for me? And so now we hate the world, because it's like, oh my gosh, is there any love in it at all? So we have this angry picture of God, this angry picture of the world, this angry picture of everything, and Credence can't hold it back anymore, because that's exactly where he is. And finally he says, I don't want to control it anymore, and he unleashes that power with all of its rage and all that it is, and it creates nothing but havoc and destruction. And even where this movie ends, and you know, I've seen Credence in the trailer for Fantastic Beasts 2, but where this movie ends, it's really a tragic ending. But see, here's the truth I want to get at. The wizards and witches in this world, they're connected to something real in this universe. They're connected to a real power that gives them real abilities. Jesus said this in John 14, whoever believes in me will do the things I did, and greater things they will do. Jesus walked on water, and he multiplied food, and he healed the sick. He said when we believe in him, we'll do the things he did. And then he takes it a step further and says we will do even greater things than this. In other words, there is a true power that Jesus wants us to be connected to, and that is himself. He wants us to be connected to him so that his life can flow through us, and we can walk in that same power that he walked in when he was on this earth, so we can show the world who God really is. But the way to connect is belief. And believing in God, believing in Jesus, means sometimes we got to let go, and that's hard, of that horrible picture of God that religion, an empty religion, has given us. And sometimes we have to figure out how to drop that and come as a child, believing that God is love and connecting ourselves to him. You know, we gotta not walk in bitterness and anger, but we gotta walk in love and forgiveness, because as God says, he is the God of compassion and mercy, and he's slow to anger, and he's filled with unfailing love and faithfulness, and we're called to imitate that. That should be the mark of true believers, the love that flows through our lives. So belief, the way a child would believe, is the way to connect to Jesus and that power source. And sometimes religion tries to tell us we can't connect that way, so in fear we don't, and then all that condemnation begins to get built up inside of us, or the world tells us none of that's real, it's all fairy tales, so we don't connect. I mean, one way or the other, so many things are flying at us, and this is why Jesus said, come to me like a child. Believe like a child. Let go of those preconceived notions and come to know me for who I am, and connect. And when we connect, then a real power can begin to flow through our lives, and we can show the world who God really is. So what did you think of Fantastic Beasts and where to find them? Are you excited for The Crimes of Grindelwald? Let's talk about that in the comments. And while you're there, hit the subscribe button to become a Durbanian, and hit the bell by the subscribe button so you're notified from my next theological analysis, movie review, ranking video, trailer reaction, or anything else I do here. I'm Durbin. Thanks for checking out Durbania.